This episode of Gabba Gabba Hunt Talks is brought to you by Hobo Wolfman Records. Find cool music and cool shit at hobowolfmanrecords.com. You are now listening to the Gabba Gabba Hunt Talks podcast, where we bring you conversations with people connected to the Carolinas underground music scene. With your host, Mike Phillips of Van Huskins. Make sure I'm recording here. Anyways, how you doing?
Very good, man. Very good.
It's nice to meet you.
Same here. I just realized that today was Thursday.
Yeah.
For some reason or other, I don't know what the fuck day I thought it had been. So if you were waiting, I apologize.
Oh no. I just now got here. Everything's good. So and we've probably I was thinking about this. We've probably actually met in the past, like long time ago at a Picasso Trigger show. But that was like nearly 30 years ago. So there's no way we remember actually having met before if we had.
I can't remember. I guess we played at the Milestone there.
Yeah.
But I don't really remember, frankly, a lot about it.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
That was one of the first shows I saw at the Milestone when I was like 17. First one I saw was a band from Rock Hill called Tonka. We saw Geezer Lake after that. Like the week after that, we saw Geezer Lake. These were like Sunday night matinee shows. And then it seems like it was the week after that, or sometime real shortly after that, we saw Picasso Trigger there. And Kathy was doing a whole bunch of, it was Spring Break 91.
Yeah, man. It's been a long time since I've even been to Charlotte, so.
You're from around this area, aren't you?
I'm from Cherryville.
Okay, yeah.
You know,
that's just right down the road from me.
Hearing you guys saying that there's shows in Gastonia and Kings Mountain just kind of blows my mind because, you know.
Yeah, somebody told me that you were from somewhere around here. They thought maybe Shelby or something. I was like, I've heard that. I mean, I know I think he is from around here. But I didn't know Cherryville, because I'm from Kings Mountain, so Cherryville's like 15 minutes down the road.
Yeah, I was like right in the middle there.
Yeah.
You used to go to Kings Mountain. What's the guy? Is there a store there called Fulton still? Like
no.
A furniture store or some shit?
No, it's not still here, but I know what you're talking about. I remember that from when I was a kid.
Gotcha. That was one of the dudes that I used to run around with. He was instrumental in getting me into Charlotte.
Okay. So I guess we can go ahead and sort of get started here. And I don't really plan these things out a whole bunch in advance. I kind of just go with, let's start telling the story and we go from there. I have like some generic questions written down in case the conversation lags. I don't expect that to happen though. I think you've got plenty of time in the scene and plenty of things you can talk about. I know of at least 3 bands that you were in. And I know there's more. So we'll talk about all that. But I'm talking to Jon McClain. And Jon, I don't know what are your current bands that you play in, or band or bands, if there's more than one.
I inherited a couple of bands from some friends of mine. One is called the Johnny Dodge Band, kind of this groovy jam band thing. The other is Shakin' Sherman and the DTs.
Okay.
Yeah, hang out at the Berkeley a lot now.
Yeah.
If you're familiar.
I know where. Yeah, I know where that's at. I didn't know if Chrome Play at Apostles was still going. I know that was probably been a few years. I just recently discovered the band actually.
We were having trouble getting shows and getting crowds. Yeah. And I probably said too much and managed to piss Cliff off. So that one kind of went to the side there. I'm hard on guitar players, apparently. I don't know.
And we'll probably talk about that a little bit more in a little while. I'm sure we'll get back around to that. But let's just kind of start with how you got interested in music as a kid growing up in Cherryville.
Crap, that was way back when. But anytime you went anywhere, there was the AM radio in the car, big ways out of Charlotte.
Oh, yeah.
And then all the variety shows on television, the Jackson 5, the Osmonds, the Midnight Special, all those things. So I got a little bit older, Midnight Special, but, Michael Jackson was the coolest kid, and the whole Brothers band, so that's kind of where most of it came from.
Yeah.
Then I got into the school band, I was gonna play trombone, but my brother was in the marching band, 4 years older than me, and anyhow, they got into the middle of town, pretty much where we were. My parents and I were standing, and they broke into the drum cadence. The song had ended.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like the damn Blues Brothers. The clouds parted ways, and this beam of light came down. It's like, oh, shit, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And the rest was pretty easy. I was a drummer in the school band, got to a drum kit, and then, you just start noodling, meeting people.
So about what time, what age would you say that you were when you sort of started your first band, even if it was just jamming with a couple of friends from school or whatever?
Well, I was 16. I had to have a car to get back and forth. There wasn't a lot of that in Cherryville. Probably a little earlier than that. We used to go skating every Sunday over in Sheltie, but I met these guys from Blacksburg.
Okay.
And they were big Kiss fans.
Yeah.
So they came up, bought their gear, and we jammed for a while, and I didn't know anything about Kiss per se. Now, in the 7th grade, one of my friends bought a Kiss album and the band director saw him with it and took it from him and spent the entire band period bitching. This is what's wrong with music. This is what's wrong with music.
Oh, wow.
All the while I'm thinking, I gotta know what's on that album. I gotta know.
Yeah.
And Kiss is one of my favorite bands. They're hokey because they're not playing anything fancy.
Yeah.
But it's the show. And I tell everybody, you gotta have a show, man. No one's gonna pay to see you tapping your damn foot. You gotta rock.
Yeah.
So, anyhow, musical journey.
So you started playing drums in school band, and when did you get your first kit?
I got my first full kit probably when I was in the 8th grade, however old that would make me, 13, 14.
Somewhere around there, I think, yeah.
Yeah. And, my brother and a friend of his, Cat, had a set, and they said, you can't play, blah, blah, blah. And they sat me down and put on Jackson 5 or something like that. And, man, I jumped right the fuck on it,
Yeah.
So it was just watching everybody, again, from Chris Partridge all the way through to Peter Criss. It was just listening and watching.
Yeah.
My brother used to take me to, Eastridge Mall in Gastonia and throw me out every Friday. My parents gave both of us a car for his 16th birthday, so I'm 12 and I've got half of a car. My half of the car ain't going anywhere without me.
Yeah.
He'd take me to the mall and threw me out, and I would hang around at Belts and the Record Bar and J.C. Penney, just listening to the music in between video game interludes.
Yeah, yeah. I spent quite a bit of time hanging out at that mall myself when I was a teenager. And we talk about, me and Gus Engstrom talked about like Record Bar. I think it was Gus, or I've talked to several people about it, but like Record Bar in Camelot, and about how there was a time when you could actually find some kind of decent stuff there. It was that when I first started getting into punk rock, they had just enough to get me started.
Yeah. And punk rock down there, dude, back, I was, probably high school, 79, 80. Cherryville was a wasteland for all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I think I'm about 10 years younger. So I went to high school in 89 through 90. I graduated in 92. Kings Mountain was kind of the same way, but somehow, me and one of my buddies kind of got introduced to it on a church camp trip of all places, really. But, and then we just had to find it ourselves. And so we pretty much brought punk rock to Kings Mountain. I'm not saying it didn't exist here before us, but we did a lot here without having anybody to show us.
Yeah, I don't think it existed in Kings Mountain anyway before you. I mean, I don't even know how to call it. There were a handful, maybe 4 or 5 kids. My high school had 300 people in it, but there were 4 or 5 people who just weren't quite like all the others, mentally and all. So that was my first experience with just being that guy.
Yeah.
But, I played in Southern rock bands, all that kind of stuff. I jammed with bunches of people over the years. But one night, these dudes from Kings Mountain, as a matter of fact, took me to the Milestone.
Okay.
And man, in the Southern rock bands, we played in Blacksburg, I think, at a place called Rick's Hideaway.
Yeah.
It was a cinder block building out in the middle of the park, you know, out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And you could just see the red pouring out through the holes, and every time someone would open the door. But, you know, because I was playing with the band, I never had any problems, was totally safe.
Yeah.
But we walked into the Milestone, and dude, all the thrash, the slam dancing was going on, the thrashing, and that shit blew my mind for a few minutes.
Yeah.
But then I heard the drum playing, I imagine it was no rock stars, more than likely that I heard then.
Yeah.
But it was like, yowza, this is what I want to do. Like, you can play harder than I'm playing now, faster, count me in.
Yeah.
Did you ever know Mark Stowe by chance?
No, and name doesn't even really sound familiar.
Yeah, he was a piece of damn work, man. But he was the singer, so,
Okay.
But he was punk rock. He was Charlotte's Darby Crash.
All right.
I think that's the best way to describe it.
I love the Germs.
Yeah, me too, man. Can't remember her name right now. What's the chick's name?
Lorna Doone?
No, not the Germs. I'm sorry. I was thinking the Bags. Wrong band.
Yeah.
But yes, the Germs too.
Yeah.
They had that nasty rawness to them.
Yeah.
I stayed down there, I don't know, a year or so, maybe a couple, after I got to Charlotte. Slid down I left Cherryville, I made it to Belmont, and then I made it into Charlotte. I just kind of crept along, getting, more and more away from country living.
Yeah. So now you say the Southern Rock Band. Was that the first band that you played in? Was it a Southern Rock Band, or
that was the first real band that I played in. It was called Loose Change, man. We did Tom Petty song. We did Tom Petty, the Babies. Mm-hmm. Just a general melange, honky tonk woman, all kinds of stuff,
Just basically cover songs, just
precisely cover songs.
That's a good way to cut your teeth to learn how to play music and to learn how to be in a band. We kind of jumped in just full on like we're going to figure this out. Let's play some punk rock and make some noise.
Learning with other people is better than learning on your own, because there's the instinct that you have to learn how to listen and how to interact with the other people in the band. Yeah. You learn to play alone, you know how to keep yourself groovy, but sometimes just the whole switching on to reacting. Yeah. The jam band has been particularly good for me with that, because, we have a basic idea of what's going on.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's not what I remembered it being.
Yeah.
But I taught at the School of Rock here.
Okay.
And I tried to hip my students to that. It's like, you control a lot more than you think, but you've got to pay attention to everything. Learn your basic stuff, and you'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
And above and beyond everything else, keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. And when I say we learned on our own, it was me and my buddies. We learned how to be in a band and how to play music and how to write music together. So we did it together. It wasn't like I sat in my room playing by myself. And I think that's what really ultimately helped me get to where I'm at today, because I did have some buddies that were, a couple of them were actually better musicians, but they had never played in bands. So we all learned how to be in a band together and learned how to do it all, from writing to playing and everything.
I haven't written much. I've written about 4 songs in my entire life, and it's only because I've had guitars, but they're never close by. You know, You guys keep it right there, it's beside you. Mine are down the hall in my room, my acoustic, and I've got a bass. So, but drummer, I leave it to the rest of them.
Even as a bass player these days, I pretty much leave it to Eric to write all of our songs, and then I just write my part to what he writes. Just because I've got some ideas and I might do something with them someday, but for what we're doing, I'm just letting Eric do all the writing.
Right. Now, when you get to the studio and start recording and releasing stuff, that's when it gets fun, because, you know, the person that writes it gets a different cut than the people that play it.
Yeah. We haven't really gotten to that point yet. We're in the losing money business at this point, but
absolutely. You never make a lot of money. I don't know what the secret is. You need a rich person in the band, I think, to tote the note.
Yeah.
But usually, if you're lucky, you manage to pay for all your hotels that you get, if you get hotels and food, and maybe come back with a little money to put in the bank.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So you say when you were in Cherryville, you played in Loose Change. Did you do anything else in Cherryville before you ended up moving towards Charlotte? So I guess we're working our way towards Ugly Americans, and I don't know what happened between Loose Change and that. So what happened next, or what was your next?
No offense to Cherryville, but I, you know, like I said, by about the 10th grade, even before then, I knew I had to get out. I was done.
I was the same way about Kings Mountain, but yeah, I'm back here. I'm still here, kind of. So,
well, I've had thoughts of moving back down there myself, actually, but the windshield that I saw the world through was television by and large, and I could see things that just didn't exist there. So anyway, out was my mission.
I understand that.
But then there was after Loose Change, there was a band called Sweet Revenge, kind of a Rush cover band. I played with them high school and then down to Loose Change. They were kind of back to back then.
Yeah.
And I think one of the guys from Loose Change is who got me into Charlotte and coming out and playing. You know, a few friends from Cherryville as well would come down, but
yeah.
I was going to go see Rush. That was going to be my very first concert, and that would have ruined me as well. I'm sure Rush would have ruined me back then.
Yeah.
But my friend couldn't make it, so we didn't get to go to that concert. So the Milestone really was my thing. There was another club there called Viceroy Park, but that's where I saw all the bands that I had seen. I never really went to an actual concert. Never went to Ovens Auditorium or anything to see any shows down there. It was all punk rock. Charlotte, DC, we'd go to, or Atlanta, just kind of little road trips. I don't know how I got into No Rock Stars. Somehow or other it got out that I was a drummer when I started coming to the Milestone. I don't remember if I helped it or if someone just happened to know, because I was just odd man out. You know, the friends that I went there with, it blew their mind, so they didn't want to go back, and I had to handle it.
Yeah.
Oh, we started a band. There's a guy named Benji Shelton from Alexis, I think it is. Alexa, whatever. There's a little town there near Dallas.
Yep.
He got me in there. I don't know how I ran up on him, but we had a band called the Screaming Shits. That was the first punk rock band that I was in.
Okay.
And they would never say it on the radio station when we were having shows, so they would change it to the TSS band.
Oh, okay.
So that was my first punk rock band, and that's how I got into No Rock Stars, I suppose.
Yeah. So how did you get into punk rock in the first place?
It was just the next phase. It was, comparing punk rock to the stuff that I had been playing. And while, a 57 Chevy is a nice car, it's nobody's Ferrari. Yeah. So it was just another level of exertion, another level of focus and concentration. Circle Jerk song, Red Tape.
Yeah.
That was one of the first songs I heard. I think No Rock Stars did it when I went to see them one time.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was like, holy shit, man, listen how fast that dude's doing that roll.
Yeah.
So my mission was, all right, there are only two people, Neil Peart Rush can do things that I can't do, and Kenny Soul from a band called Nantucket did things that I couldn't do.
Yeah.
But other than that, I used to be able to play anything that I heard. I could figure out a way to get it very, very close. The next thing was, how fast can I play and how long before I flop and pass out or we have success at whatever it is that I'm trying to do. It's just the rawness, I suppose, just the energy that you put in, the focus. And punk rock, there are a lot of goofy party songs. I like that there was, in the whole Charlotte scene in particular, there was a little community. And the same when I got here to Raleigh, and I imagine every city has the little scene vibe. It was just nice to go out and completely vent with a bunch of fairly similar-minded people that you'd stumble upon.
Yeah.
Still never understood the Peace Skinheads, or anything. I understood the skinheads, but I don't want to sound like damn Trump. They're good people on both sides, but it's just the fashion. It's just the look. I used to shave my head for a lot of years. I wasn't trying to be a skinhead, but I would shave my head for a lot of years when I first moved here, having a mohawk or whatever I was doing, a reverse mohawk.
Yeah. And I just noticed something, but we'll keep going for a little bit. For some reason, I guess I forgot to clean off my SD card. It's showing I've got like an hour and 12 minutes left to record. So at some point I'm going to stop us and just take a break real quick just to clear that up, clean something up.
Sure thing.
But I'm going to keep an eye on it so we can keep talking for a little bit.
Okay.
So you said you played in No Rock Stars. No Rock Stars is a band I've heard of, but I don't think I've ever heard any No Rock Stars music. Is there any out there that you know of?
There's the No Core compilation. That's what kept me from going to college. So apparently I started playing with them when I was in high school. But after I got out of high school, I made a deal with my folks that I would get on a record or I would go to any college they wanted me to and take whatever they wanted me to. And thank goodness we recorded for that No Core compilation. That's what it was. I was, I had a couple of scholarships awarded for a couple of different places. Mm-hmm. But, sometimes you stumble into a situation, that that's not what I need to do. My whole mission after that drum cadence when I was in the 6th, 7th grade, I want to be a musician. That's what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. I just couldn't see in my mind how I could go to college and devote what I wanted to do to music. And ironically enough, most everybody that I was playing with was in college and playing music.
Yeah.
Music has always just been that thing, man. It's just been my groove. Comes natural. I don't have to think a lot about it.
So while you were in Charlotte, you played in No Rock Stars. Was there anything else that you did in Charlotte before you ended up moving to Raleigh?
No, when No Rock Stars wrapped up, I think I stayed for a little while longer, but I had a plan. My actual plan was to ultimately get to New York because I said if I'm going to make it, be a rock star, I got to get to damn New York.
Yeah.
LA was just too far, but I figured New York would get some exposure.
Now, what was the scene like in Charlotte at that time? Was there a pretty decent scene?
I lived on Carroll Street, which was just down the road from the Milestone, so we could walk back and forth there. But there was another club called Viceroy Park that had opened up.
Yeah.
To try to be. Are you familiar?
I've heard of it, but of course I've never been there. I don't think it was around when I started going to shows.
That place was nice and polished. It wasn't around. I didn't know if you had underaged your way in there or not, but it was nice and polished, a nice PA, big room. sometimes there were literally holes in the floor when you were inside that you didn't want to fall through. But the scene was good, man. You know, everything. I had heard you talking to Gus about this, I believe. Mm-hmm. But everything was kind of word of mouth. Everybody would call everybody, and every Friday, Saturday, we'd all convene at the Milestone or wherever somebody we wanted to see was playing at. And there were a lot of good bands that came through back then as well. So it was a really good scene. Milestone somehow was a regular pit stop for touring bands.
Yeah. I know there were some like Black Flag, Minor Threat. Pretty much everybody came through at that time. Bad Brains, I think, played there.
I never got to see Black Flag when I lived there. Every time they came, somehow or other, the owner, Bill Flowers, I'm sure Bill's somewhere else now on the other side.
I think he's still around. He's still around.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
He owned the Milestone up until like either earlier this year or late last year. Somebody else has bought it now, and I hope he's patient. But apparently he knows and respects the history of the place and wants to keep it going. But we'll see what happens.
Somehow or other, I would always have been on Bill's bad side, so I would have been banned for something or other. But it was only twice, and ironically enough, when Black Flag was coming into town.
Oh, wow.
So I stood outside because, this, again, is not the most soundproof place you'll ever find.
Yeah. Across
the street in the little gas station, and I heard Black Flag. I didn't get to go in to see him.
Oh, wow. That's still a pretty good story, though. I mean, to be able to say that.
Yeah.
Although it would have been a much better story to be like, I saw Black Flag at the Milestone.
It would have been a much better story. But, the rest of them you got to see, I got to see, Dead Kennedys, Circle Jerks, I believe, and all the rest, like I said, the Bad Brains.
Yeah.
Bad Brains got me into one of my first bands when I got here, somehow or other. But the guy, Davis Chambly, played with a band called Crucial Truth, and they used to tour with the Bad Brains.
Yeah.
And my roommates at the time were engineer dudes, and they knew Davis, I guess, from college. So we all went to the Milestone to see Bad Brains and Crucial Truth, and as was pretty regular for those guys back then, they didn't make it. So we sat outside and talked and all became friends, and when I got here, they introduced me to Davis. Go and see Bad Brains.
Yeah. And so that was, you said that was one of your first bands when you moved up to that area, and you moved to Raleigh?
Yeah, I was on my way to DC. That was going to be my stop, DC or Baltimore. I didn't have a plan. I was just packing all my shit and leaving.
Yeah.
And one of my friends from here, we were at a DC show. He goes, "Man, you should move to Raleigh instead." And, we come to Raleigh, like I said earlier, to see shows all the time,
Yeah.
And I came to visit. I said, all right, I'll stop by for a couple of days on my way back to Charlotte, and we'll see. And fuck, I wound up staying here. So.
Never made it to New York, never made it to D.C., just decided to stay in Raleigh.
Shauna, bass player for White Zombie, I've still got an unopened cassette from White Zombie that she sent me and asked me if I wanted to play drums with them. She goes, "You'll be perfect." It's like, well, baby, I was in the Ugly Americans. We were on Metal Blade. I said, I'm in a band that's got a deal. Why would I leave my signed band to come and play in a Might Be Something band?
Yeah.
Never listened to it. Had I listened to it, I'd have been in New York, man.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, White Zombie was such a great band.
Yeah.
Kind of metal-y, not punk rockish enough per se.
Yeah. I dig them. I saw them one time in Winston-Salem. I think Reverend Horton Heat opened up for them, and I dig White Zombie. I mean, I can take some of it more than others, and some of it I can do without. But
naturally,
it would have been a badass band to play in for sure.
For sure, man. So, but yeah, so I stayed here that the band that I played in with Davis was called Missionary. That was my first Raleigh band.
Okay.
I don't think Missionary ever got anything recorded. Too bad. And
so,
then
I guess so. It was a good band, I guess, if you're saying that.
It was. Our guitar player didn't know how to play guitar, so you know, Davis and I did all the heavy lifting. No offense to JD, but you know, Davis was one of those head down bass players, and that left me a lot of room to run wild around it.
Oh yeah.
So, but we played a lot. You know, there was always somewhere to play. Our house, I lived on a place called Turner Street here, and I get no credit for it because they were already having parties there when I first got here. As a matter of fact, that's where we went. But we kept having shows and parties there, and then slid it down to the bars. But you know, so Raleigh had a scene that was different because we had a lot of the house parties. And you were saying, I remember you guys talking about house parties, house shows are the thing now.
Well, I guess they're still a thing. I haven't been to one in years, but apparently they're still a thing. And I'm going to check that out, like on the other side of all this COVID stuff. Whether we end up playing one or not. I'd like to play one, but I definitely want to go check one out and see what's going on.
Well, Chrome Plated came down there and played one somewhere, like just from the things that I saw, Southeast Charlotte. And it was good, you know, it was fun. But, you know, it's just that one tiny room with the drum set and a PA and as many people as could poke in and get around the edges. Yeah. And everybody else just got pummeled through the walls by it. So you definitely have to have the tiny drum set. You don't have a lot of space. You know, that's definitely back to the old days where you were just putting everything, whatever you could get together.
So you said Crucial Truth was your first band when you got to Raleigh.
Well, no, Crucial Truth, that was the band that Davis was in. That band was called Missionary.
Oh, Missionary. Missionary, that's right. You said you played a bunch of shows and didn't record anything, though.
Correct.
And so what was what was after that? Was that Crucial Truth?
That was Stillborn Christians next.
Stillborn Christians.
Crucial Truth, they were from New York. I never played with them, but Stillborn Christians was the next band.
I'm getting everything mixed up, and I'll edit all this out. Or actually, I might not. Sometimes I say I'll edit it out, and I'll leave in the stuff where I'm going. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Exactly. As long as you do, man, it's piece of cake. No, I'm with you too, brother. Stillborn Christians, you know, people compared us to the Minutemen, and those two dudes were definitely in school. So we didn't get to do a lot of traveling. But those guys were like classically trained musicians. And we'd be playing, they'd be calling out these complex chords, G minor 7 with an augmented fifth, and then they're just playing the shit out of their guitars while they're doing it.
Yeah.
And they're just talking to each other in a calm, regular voice. And I said, well, damn it, I'm going to have to learn to talk while I'm playing drums now, because I can't not be in on their conversations. So I taught myself to talk while I played.
Yeah.
I don't sing much, but that, you know, I can sing because I'm not a harmonizer. I'm more of a yeller.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the first time I ever really tried that. But those guys, they had really good songs. Like I said, that's on the Why Are We Here record. And I think we only got maybe 3 or so, those 3, I think, recorded, which is too bad. They had really well-written songs. It was a different layer of punk rock, a different kind. You know, it wasn't the hardcore, poundy thrash. It was cerebral punk. It's like, I guess, Rush to AC/DC. Those guys, I guess, hit grad school or graduated, and that band fizzled. So then the Ugly Americans asked me if I'd play with them for a while.
Okay, so they were already a band and had been playing.
Yes.
Were they already signed at this point, or was that after you?
No, they weren't. They had put out the first album, The Dream Turns Sour.
They took their chances, they took their minds, they reached their dreams, they went on the line. It's just a sign of what's to come. When you sit back and laugh, when nothing's done. Your special opinions with a loaded gun. Poured from the straight from the Holy One. You're proud of what you've done. Another commie rally. It should have been clear when the cops didn't show. Or maybe they did, out of uniform, dressed in white sheets and combat fatigues. You fired your shots, hit hard with your clubs. Brute force from your fascist regime.
And I don't know who all Simon had been talking to, but our first tour, we drove out to LA, did a couple of shows, signed the papers, and suddenly we were recording an On Metal Blade.
Yeah.
And that's when we did the In My Bed album. And, you know, that was good stuff. You know, we'd go tour and come home, and you'd have to get a job, I would, to get money to pay bills and all. And that kind of got in the way, because there'd be, you know, there's momentum, surge, and then you stop, surge, stop. So I'd take the heat for keeping us from quite making it over the edge.
Government assassination, we've had our fill. Stop the shit, enemies and lies. No place to run, no place to hide. Through clan, fill my eyes. Show your face, expose our lies. Land of the free, home of the right. Keep on shooting, keep on shooting, keep on shooting. Kill!
So you said you toured. What other bands did you tour with?
We toured a few times, I believe. I think the first tour we did was by ourselves.
Okay.
And, you know, we literally just played. We power drove out to LA, recorded. Maybe that was the second tour. I think the first tour we power drove out to LA, played the show at the Olympic Auditorium. It was just a big Sunday show.
Okay.
And then we did a bunch of shows on our way back from there. I believe that's how it went. And then we went and signed and recorded the next time out.
Yeah.
But I think maybe it was them or Picasso Trigger. We toured with the Descendants, and I think some, you know, Bad Brain shows. Couple of shows. I think we played with the Dead Kennedys. I know we tried, because Bob has a thing for alternative tentacles.
Yeah.
So we tried hard to get to the Dead Kennedys.
Yeah. I didn't know if like being on Metal Blade, like if they like set you up on tour with somebody else, or, you know, hooked you up with shows with other bands on their label.
Yeah, no, none of the labels have really done that. You know, Alias didn't do it with Picasso Trigger.
I guess this is when you get to like the bigger levels before that kind of stuff happens.
Fuck if I know, man. You know, usually by the time labels and that sort of stuff got in, I kind of just tried to stay away from it all, because I don't know a lot of the business aspects of it. I know how to book bands. I knew how to book bands. Someone asked me for an EPK, and it's like, well, what's an EPK? I had to ask one of my other friends, what's an EPK?
Yeah.
So, you know, send them a tape and a picture. That's what you always used to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, the recording stuff, I didn't get so far into that necessarily. They told me to show up. Recording is actually my least favorite part of being in a band.
Mine too, but it's, you know, I usually have a good time when we do it. It's just, it's not the thing I look forward to doing.
I'm from the Thelonious Monk school. You do it one or two, you do it 2, maybe 3 times.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's how I like to do it. If we can nail it the first time, I don't even want to touch it a second time. I don't even want to take a chance of playing it better or worse. Yeah, that sounds good. Let's keep going.
I have this superstition when I practice and play with bands now. Have to play on odd numbered shows. Okay. So the first time you get together to rehearse, you all kind of have an idea, but you're free jamming essentially.
Yeah.
Second time you do it, you're thinking of it, say, all right, I'm going to fix it and I'm going to do a fill here or whatever. Completely just fuck it up.
Yeah.
Third time and the fifth time, all the even numbers you're trying to recover from the other time. And when you record it, it's the same way, except since you're playing the song over and over and over, now I add getting tired to overthinking everything, because that first time I'm just playing free, but after that I'm trying to remember what I did or something. Try not to mess up. Don't slow down. Ultimately, I decide at some point, all right, just play straight, fast, and heavy. Don't get fancy. Cut a couple of those fills out, and you don't have to do it anymore.
Yeah.
But I still play, don't get me wrong, but, just like you understand, I hope, what I'm trying to say. Just the more you do it, you start getting tired.
Exactly. And we've talked about that because, our drummer always says he wishes we could spend more time in the studio so we could do it over and over again. I'm like, why? Why would you want to do it over and over again? You're just going to get tired of playing the song. And you're just going to end up going, well, that first one was good enough anyway. So why don't we just go with that first one and move to the next song? But, if I had unlimited money and unlimited time, I would want to spend a little bit more time and just see what we could do with it. But I have no interest in that right now.
Yes, indeed. And, it's just that we always would go out and play, and usually if we were lucky, we'd record somewhere like in the middle of a tour. So now you've played the songs every day.
Yeah.
So now you have to know them. Because you played them with everybody. You weren't just jamming along with your, MP3 or whatever. And the more you've played it and practiced it, you shouldn't have to do 1,000,001 takes.
Yeah.
Danny Hooley, the Ugly American guy, says when we play now, he goes, man, however old he is, but I'll use me, 58-year-old John really hates 20-year-old John. While I'm trying to play this stuff now.
I heard somebody else say that one time. I don't even know who it was, but they were just talking about how some of the early stuff they played was just they didn't think they'd be playing it 20 years later when they wrote it. It's I didn't think about being 50 trying to play the same stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Holy crap. And you never go back and take lessons once you've been playing for a while. Most people, it causes you more harm than good.
I can see that. Yeah.
Danny went and took classical guitar lessons at North Carolina Central University here. So the clash of what he knew to do instinctively and what he was technically doing technically correctly didn't always mesh together.
Yeah.
So it's all right, man. You'll be fine. Just keep playing. Start it off at a speed you can do it, and I'll take care of the rest when we all kick in.
Yeah. So how long did Ugly Americans go on for, or how long were you in that band? I mean, I guess you're still you're still playing, kind of.
We still play occasionally. I think we've probably come close to our last final show for real.
Oh.
But we'll see. Maybe we got one or two more in us, maybe one more, but we played probably from 83 through 86 or so-ish, sounds about right. 80, somewhere in that range, 2, 3, 4 years.
Yeah. And so during that time, COC was pretty active, or very active, and starting to get bigger.
Yeah.
Do you remember, I know you know the band Subculture?
Yes.
Yeah. But what were some of the bands, some of the other bands you played with at that time that came through Raleigh that were?
Dude, everybody that came through, we had a good hook whenever it was time for bigger bands to come through that needed openers. It seemed we did pretty good with that. said, we played with the Dead Kennedys here at a place called the Pier forever ago.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the little shows, the Bali High restaurants and people's houses, there wasn't really a headliner per se.
Mostly like the local hardcore scene playing shows together.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correctamundo. And, you know, when the bands were touring, they would find their ways into clubs. But, you know, Bad Brains, we played with them a few times. I don't know. It's many, many, many moons ago. Sorry, I can't think exactly of them all now.
I don't ever expect, like, you know, a detailed, we played with this band first and this band next. But this might be a good place to talk about, like, because you were talking about, so Ugly Americans was kind of you had sort of a political lean to that band at times, right?
Oh, yeah. A couple of those. Yeah. That was one of my favorite bands for that reason. Mm-hmm. You know, what I was trying to say, you know, you'd listen to Damaged and, you know, their Circle Jerks had a lot of songs that when I listened to them, the words are the last thing that I ever learned in the songs, you know, so. But I think off the Wild in the Streets album, there were a lot of good tracks in there. I'm trying to think of some now. Letter Bombs and those sorts of things at any rate.
I tend to avoid on the podcast, just for fear of alienating people, is talking too much about politics. But you're right. Like, punk rock really is very political, and it should be. You know, maybe not every punk rock song needs to be political, but it should be like in your face. Let's take down smash the system or whatever, smash the state. You know, that all goes hand in hand with punk rock. So we shouldn't shy away from it too much, because there's some great political punk rock out there. And you were saying that kind of like when you watch the news these days, those songs are the soundtrack that plays in your head.
Yeah.
I totally get that. And as much as I try to stay away from it, there's a part of me that's like, I feel like I'm biting my tongue a lot. Ultimately, like you said, I think punk rock is political by nature.
You know, with music, there were, like I said, I've been in bunches of damn party bands and played a bunch of party songs. But back in my formative years, I was, in junior high, I think in the 6th grade, I was over 6 feet tall.
Okay.
And weighed probably 2 and change, maybe 250. Yeah. I was a little big fire plug.
Yeah.
But they tried to get me to play football, and I kind of thought that was kind of cool. But then I came in one morning on the bus and saw those dudes had lost, and they were doing sit-ups in the rain, and the coach was yelling at them. It's like, oh yeah, I'm going to be in the band, I think.
Yeah. That's me. That's the same thing. That's like, I never had any interest in being in the military or being on the sports team, because I just want to do what I want to do. I don't want somebody to be yelling at me, making me do stuff I don't want to do.
We had this assembly, and the coach, we were coming out. I'm in high school at this point, so coach grabs me because he knew that I had a mouth on me and liked to have an opinion, mm-hmm. and liked expressing it. And I guess we had a talk before, and I said, I want to be a musician because people listen to you. You have a voice.
Yeah.
And if you use it, you know, you might be able to make a difference. Anyhow, some broke down football player was talking to us, and he caught me and said, now, that's what you were talking about. He says, that man had a room full of people listening. And, you know, like I said, I'm 15, 16, I said to him, I literally said, you know, he had a captive audience, dude. Nobody was fucking listening to him. When you're on stage playing, people have paid to come in and hear you. Mm-hmm. So you're gonna get a message through. No one may want to, they may not agree, but if you have a vision and a message, you can get it out there. And the old music, like I said, you know, Six Pack and TV Party, there's some stupid fucking songs that were just groovy songs. But when I listen to songs now, they're groovy, stupid, funny songs. But no one has any anger that I hear. You know, maybe I don't listen to enough new music, but there's no anger. There's no, you know, there's that Sarah McLachlan chick, the Arms of the Angel chick, about the animal abuse.
Yeah.
You know, change that song from that to, you know, I don't know, Think Again or something. I don't know. I just missed the raw energy. And like I said, that's what got me to punk rock over the other forms of music. There's a lot to be said for being precise and jazzy, whatever technique, but just the raw, and if you've got something that you want to get said, like take your current topic. I can't imagine why no one's really tearing it up. Maybe I'm just not out in clubs so much, but
yeah, that's well, we talk about that too. 4 years ago, everybody said also there's going to be some great punk rock songs written over the next 4 years. But because I was just thinking when you were talking about the early 80s and punk rock, and like Reagan was president at that time, and it was just like a perfect time for bands to be political and speak out against all that shit. Well,
right.
now is too, but I just feel like there really aren't that many political punk rock bands anymore. Everybody, because I play, for lack of a better word, I play punk rock, and we dabble in it every now and then, but it's not like real in your face when we do. And we got a new one that was this a little bit more in your face that we haven't recorded yet, but it's still not going to be like, that's not going to be our go-to, is to be political. And I don't know, I don't really know why that is. It's kind of strange that it seems like there should be more of that now. But when I go on Spotify and I type in "fuck Trump," there's like 100 rap songs, no punk rock songs.
You robbed me.
So I don't know. I guess that's the rebel music these days. I guess I don't know.
It wasn't it called the skrunkin', the rap with played up, done over a heavy metal riff.
Oh yeah.
Maybe skrunkin' was dancing, but back in the Ice-T days and all that kind of stuff. I always said, man, I need to hook up with some of those dudes. That could be damn far out.
Yeah.
Never hooked up with those dudes. Yeah, when I write, my songs are written on a 3rd grade level. I like pie. Pie is good. Or I don't like broccoli. I like pie. Pie is good. I don't like broccoli. I don't know. But, so I'm not a good lyricist. For some reason, I can't get my thoughts to come out like I want them when I'm trying to write songs. So I, like I said, leave it to other people.
Yeah, when we first started playing punk rock, I wrote a few songs, like the lyrics and everything, and I tried at that point. I was like, well, if I'm going to be in a punk rock band, we got to have some kind of meaning to it. So I wrote about a song called Robot, and it was about being a robot and conforming to society and stuff like that. But like these days, when I try to write anything like that, I go back and I read those lyrics, and they're not bad, but they're kind of cheesy. These days, if I write something like that, I'm just like, that's too cheesy. So Eric writes most of our lyrics, but I do write every now and then, and I don't know. I don't feel like I'm a very good lyricist either. We basically just have lyrics for the sake of having some lyrics because we're not good enough to be instrumental.
Yes, indeed, man. And so, most of the things you write about, usually relationships, then sometimes is your fucking job, and then politics and the world in general. Typically, one of those 3 things is going to cover.
Yeah.
Definitely can't write a song about some chick that I've been hanging out with because it's just so obvious that if it ever gets sent out in public, more problems than, anyone would ever want to deal with. Work. I wrote a song called My Job Sucks that I think I played with Stillborn Christians.
Okay, yeah.
But they would let me play bass and sing occasionally, so I played bass on that, I believe. Okay. And then I had another called The Communist Call that I played with those guys. My Job Sucks was a funny song, man. It was a good one.
Yeah.
And so those are my 2 big dives into songwriting. And after that, it's like, I'll just play drums.
Insane. That brought you to the rate. Mess me up. Fuck my brain. I'm not right. I'm just insane. Little child, what the hell can you know? I'm 45. But you just grow up. Sit there in your corner by yourself. Stop your mess to my mental health. Mess me up. Fuck my brain. You tell me that I'm insane. Straight ass. Not even war. You tell me that I must be born. Blank walls. My head. Damn it. yourself. Shove your man to my mental hell. Mess me up, fuck my brain. You tell me that I'm insane. Straight at, you're not even warm. You tell me that I must conform. Fuck you, I will conform. Fuck you, I will conform. Mess me up, fuck my brain. I will conform. I'm gone insane. Insane. These are the thoughts that kill. I hope thoughts that kill.
So after them, I stopped playing for a lot of years. Okay. You know, not really sure necessarily. I guess I was out driving trucks trying to make money for that period.
And why did that band end at that time? I mean,
Uglies, you know, I'd say I was out trying to make money too much when we'd come back in from playing. And I got into this truck driving thing, and I had a local job, which was fine, but I started driving over the road. So I'd come back in from a tour, and I'd be gone, you know, 2-3 weeks, get home for a weekend, back out. So no time to practice. Doing gigs got to be really a pain in the ass. And I think Chris may have gone on to graduate school, and Bob. And I don't know what happened necessarily with Hooley. We all just kind of went our own ways. There was no animosity, I don't think. We just all just kind of parted.
Yeah, sometimes it happens that way, and just like me, you know, there's a certain point where you kind of step away from it, whether you intentionally do it or because you got other things going on in your life. But, you know, I've also talked about this, how you generally get pulled back in if it's going to be if it's a part of your being anyway, playing music. You said you had some stuff you wanted to talk about that we didn't get through last time. When you talk about it, I'll just get you to kind of tell me about where in the timeline that was. And then when I'm editing the other episode, I'll have this interview pulled up and ready to go too, so I can kind of hop back and forth, you know. Either that, or it ends up kind of, I figure out where to put it in, or it goes on sort of at the end, like, oh, we talked again a second night, and here's the rest of it.
Gotcha. Okay. Basically, it was right around what you did after Ugly Americans. I couldn't think of shit, dude. Full blank.
Well, I was thinking a couple of days ago, because I think I was thinking about us talking about this, and I was thinking, you know, if I was on an interview about my band, I mean, I have been before, or about my journey, and there's bands that I played in briefly that I would forgotten about, kind of.
Yeah.
And there's one that's pretty important that I don't want to forget about next time I talk about it. It's like, oh yeah, I can't talk, you know, even though we never played a show, it was, you know, it was something I did during the time that I wasn't playing, so it shows that I was still trying to be in music at that time.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, it was like a weird, I don't know, quasi musical period, because when I left the Uglies, I started driving trucks.
Yeah.
And, well, I'd been driving trucks, but I'd done it for a little while fairly solid. I do I do it for a little while, get a little cash aside, and then I can quit and enjoy living for a while. Yeah. So after I had my fill of trucking that time, I came home and I got in reggae bands. I believe it was reggae next.
Okay.
Like I said, I'd been racing motorcycles a little bit in that window. Well, I played with the Amateurs I don't know if you're familiar with them, but I don't remember us playing Charlotte very often.
Yeah.
But they're a reggae band, played it around ECU a lot and down at the beach.
Okay.
And then I started another band with these guys called Trinidad North, and we went to the beach. That was actually the only time, with all the record deals and everything that we've had, that I made a living from playing music.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was damn great, man. You hang out Monday through Thursday, pile into the van Thursday night, Friday morning, drive to the coast.
Yeah. And,
we'd have a meal, a room for each of us separately, and $150 a day on beyond our expenses.
Oh, yeah.
And the bars would bring us down. I mean, it was like they needed to do punk rock like this. Yeah. Damn, this is some good living.
I had some buddies years ago. They're still friends of mine, but they had a cousin that played in a reggae band, and he would come and visit. Sometimes we'd be hanging out and talk about like the kind of money they made and the shows they played. And it's like, wow, I just can't even imagine that. But reggae, I guess, sells. and packs out clubs.
And dude, it's, whereas in rock, punk rock or whatever, you're playing, in an average set, 10, 15 songs.
Yeah.
We literally sometimes would play 4 or 5 songs in an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Take an hour and a half break, come back for the next set, and the crowd was just still digging it.
Oh, yeah.
It was the most amazing thing.
Whole different scene than punk rock for sure.
Yeah, no doubt, man. No doubt.
Although I will say, I don't think I would want to play for an hour and a half and then play for another hour and a half doing punk rock for sure. If we had to do that for it to be a requirement, then I'm fine with the way it is.
Well, when I was in multiple bands, and, I'll admit, early 20s, I was in several bands. So a lot of times I'd play 2 and 3 bands in a night.
I've done that.
I started having birthday bashes a few years ago, and one time I think the Uglies had started playing, and I was going to bring them in for one, but I think I was going to be playing in all 3 bands that particular night.
Yeah.
So, but I think we got snowed out, I believe, and decided better to not have people try to drive in, to just drink, to drive home in the snow.
Yeah. Yeah, I played a lot of 2-band shows because for not a long time, but for about a year, I was in 2 bands. My very first band and then the second band I was in with the guy I still play music with today. So Style and Johnny Appleseeds and Popes on Dope were going along at the same time. And just about every show we played together because I usually booked it. So it's like, yeah, both of my bands are playing.
It's amazing, dude, isn't it?
Yeah. So I didn't mean to go off on too big of a tangent there, but you were talking about the reggae bands. Was there more you wanted to talk about with that?
No, it was cool. They were good times, man. That was, like I said, the most lucrative in the musician years. I was in kind of like a funk band called the Screaming Soul Men from the Planet Sex. Really, really good players, man. But I told the guitar player one night we were talking, I said, dude, I don't know why you guys have me in this band. Because I said, I gave up finesse for power years ago. Like I'd said when I first went to the Milestone, all the rock records, everything rock was out. You got to go. I got to have, this is what I want to play.
Yeah.
It was good. It's, every time you play in a band, you get better. I never liked cover bands.
Yeah.
But that's how I used to practice. Every day at 5 o'clock, I'd pop on my headphones when the news came on, by the way. I'd put on my headphones and start playing my drums for the next 2 hours.
Yeah.
Every day. I told my mom and dad that they could go out and just shoot somebody or just choke them. And they'd still be able to go to heaven for not choking me when I did that every day. If you go for the heaven sort of thing.
Yeah.
After Leadfoot, I played with Leadfoot on down the road. I started back in later on, but at any rate. I think they were after Picasso Trigger, and we had a deal with, Roadrunner, and everything was going wonderfully. And then we got a call from a lawyer that I didn't even know that we had. I assume you must have a lawyer for that sort of stuff, but I never knew who it was. And they dropped us.
Oh, wow.
And, we had recorded our record. I think they had released it in Europe. There was some USC fighter that came to the ring playing one of our songs before the record was even released here. And I'm going, oh, yeah, big time. You made UFC, boy. And then, like I said, the next thing I knew, they dropped us. Nickelback got our groove. So Roadrunner was courting us and them. And I guess we came home and partied and waited, and Nickelback kept playing. And, they're pretty boys with all these girly songs, and we were a body rough looking bunch, so that might have been part of it.
So now wait, was Nickelback a Roadrunner band at one point?
Apparently.
That's kind of odd.
Yeah, they dumped a crazy amount of money into our record. Crazy amount.
Yeah.
And then they just let us go.
Yeah.
I was crushed, brother. I didn't listen to music for 10 years.
Oh,
I wouldn't listen to commercial jingles. I wouldn't listen to the phone tree music. I would just hang up and call back until I got a person. But I refused to listen to music. Literally 10 years later, I was driving concert tours around. Mm-hmm. And this guy was taking me to get a pack of cigarettes, and he put on the Jeff Healey band, of all things.
Okay.
But the volume, it was a flashback to the record bar listening to the Steve Miller Band or J.C. Penney, whatever it was at Eastridge Mall.
Yeah.
But just standing there listening to really good players and really loud music.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, we're back. And I think it was either Justin Bieber or the Eagles. I was going in to catering, and the guy he started looking for me on his list. And I said, dude, you're not going to find me on that list. I'm a truck driver. He goes, dude, you look like you should be in the band. And that was that other moment. It's like, I should be in the band. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing driving everybody's shit around. I should be in the band.
So you've driven a truck or a truck or bus for some pretty big people, it sounds like.
Trucks, yeah. AC/DC, Fleetwood Mac, Kiss.
Just driving their stage set around?
Yep. Traveling United States and Canada.
Oh, yeah. How long did you do that for?
Probably about 4 years, give or take a couple.
Yeah.
It was gone too damn long. If you were lucky, you'd leave home around March, give or take a month, and you'd get home right before Christmas if you were lucky.
Yeah.
If you got on the Rockettes tour, you'd get home mid-January, late January. The last time I went out, I was gone for 18 months, and I got by my house literally about 5 days in those 18.
So did you specifically pick the music industry to drive for, or did it just kind of end up happening that way?
It just kind of ended up happening. You drive and you meet people, and one of my friends said, call these guys. It was the easiest truck driving job I've ever had.
Yeah. I can imagine probably so. I mean, because most arenas have a good place to pull in and park. But I've seen like some of these places that you have to just deliver to that you have to stop in the middle of the road. And I don't know. I look at a lot of that kind of stuff and I go, man, it'd suck to be a truck driver for those reasons alone. Just those little weird places you have to deliver to.
Yeah. The general trucking is no fun at all. So that's, again, said, all right, time to get music back in. So I'm doing everything I can not to go back out on the road anymore. I take I'm a photographer. I take pictures. I play my drums. Hell, I'm about to try to go busking with this guy. I'm going to buy a cajon and put a hat out.
So you said that Ugly Americans, after that ended, you didn't play for quite a few years. You kind of took some time off at that point as well.
Yeah.
Working. What was the next band that you were in after that? Was it Picasso Trigger or was it something else before that?
The band right before Picasso Trigger, I don't know what I was doing in that window, but it was a band called the Prophets of Circe.
Okay.
It was a bunch of lesbians, and they asked me if I'd play drums, and that's where I met Lisa Cooper. I'm an honorary lesbian. Somebody stole my damn button, but I'm an honorary lesbian, just in case anyone needs to know.
Yeah.
But we played, unregulated songs, whatever, but we played, like, Here Comes Little Bunny Foo Foo.
Okay.
And crap like that. But I mean,
like public domain stuff?
Pardon?
Like public domain music?
Yes, that's it. Public domain. Exactly. And like I said, Lisa played bass in that band, I believe, and she said, we need a drummer. Do you want to come play with us? So I'm like, yeah, let me see what you got. And they gave me the Cupcake Cowboy EP, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll play with you guys.
Yeah.
Oh yes. You know, they were the only band that's ever said play louder, play faster, do more fills. So it was a really good fit.
Yeah.
It's a really good fit.
Really good band too. Like I said, one of the most influential bands for me because it just was at that right time. I look at all those bands, like I said, Tonka, Geezer Lake, Picasso Trigger, 3 of the first bands I remember seeing at the Milestone on separate nights, and all from this area, and it just made me go. We'd already started our little punk rock band at that point, but at first it was me and the guy that sang. And neither one of us were really good at playing any instruments, but we just beat on my brother's drums, and I played my guitar, and we made a bunch of noise. And then we went to the Milestone. We're like, oh, we'd already started talking to some friends about joining in and making it real. But when we went to the Milestone, we're like, oh, this has to be real. This has got to be real.
It's got to be.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I always talk about Picasso Trigger, and like, that's one of my favorite bands from North Carolina, period. Definitely my top 5. Superchunk, White, Picasso Trigger, Geezer Lake. Like I said, that's like a very formative time in my life to be listening to music.
Geezer Lake was on another plane too. They were kind of, it wasn't thrashy, angry music or anything, but it was just deep and heavy just to listen to it. That's
what I always say. They were super heavy at times, and then it'd be the most beautiful music you've ever heard. And then it would go back to just bone crunching heavy riffs, just like, they were so good.
I think it's that damn trumpet that those guys had. I can't remember that guy's name.
Chris Claude Filter.
That's him.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah. I
liked him, man. That trumpet, the trumpet really set that band apart from everything else that they were doing. The playing, their music did it on its own, but you throw that trumpet in there, it was just something you don't expect.
Yeah, it got like ethereal at times. It really just like kind of put you in a trance, that trumpet.
Yes.
Unlike Picasso Trigger's trumpet, which Picasso Trigger also did trumpet as well. But it was a little bit more like in your face. It wasn't quite as ethereal as Geezer Lake. I love that though.
And her trumpet did the same thing, just like you said, in a different way. It was like, well, man, that's kind of interesting. Because, you know, she didn't know how to play trumpet, if you don't know this.
Exactly.
When we got our signing money, we all got new gear. So she wanted something, so we got her a trumpet.
Yeah.
In hindsight, it was like, you know, I used to give all my friends with kids noise-making toys, you know, shaker eggs and little popcorn rollers. something that didn't require batteries that was just going to be annoying as hell.
Yeah.
But that's what that trumpet was.
All right, so we're good now. And I got like 5 hours to record.
Outstanding.
So that wouldn't. I knew it wouldn't take long when I started, but I knew I was going to have to do it at some point. So I was like, okay, that's a good place I think to stop.
Well, that worked out well. It gave me time to think about what I did between the Ugly Americans and Picasso Trigger.
Okay, well then that's good.
I started road racing motorcycles.
Oh wow, is that something you still do that today?
I don't do it today. I wrecked at Rockingham probably in 1988-ish.
Yeah.
Trashed my bike, broke my foot, and decided, well, I'm a drummer and I drive a truck. Maybe I don't need to be a racer. I'd never considered wrecking until then.
Yeah.
Yes, that was the break. I had to think, what the hell did I do in all those years? So we were talking about Picasso Trigger, I believe.
And I was gonna say, I know you didn't play with Picasso Trigger the whole time they were a band. I don't think, because I think they had a different drummer on the last album, or maybe the.
Yes, I cut out and started playing with Leadfoot by the time they did the last album.
Okay.
I tried to go with the big haired rock.
Yeah. So you said you were playing with Lisa already, and then she got you into Picasso Trigger as well.
Yeah, those guys. I said White Zombie. They were about as close to that as I could have imagined afterwards, and it was just good music. I don't know how, I think Sam knew how to play and Lisa was learning on the job, but Lisa Cooper was a good, just natural guitar player.
Yeah.
She, and I don't think she took any lessons. Sam may have shown her some things, but I'm sure she didn't take any lessons that I know of. That band just had a good energy.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It was kind of like a fight, if nothing else. But, it was, or maybe the punk rock show. It seemed like a fight, but everybody was all cool at the end of the song.
Yeah. Y'all did some real interesting stuff with the music. And like Todd Goss said, he said, and you've listened to the episode, I know, but you guys really should have been bigger than you were. I mean, somebody kind of dropped the ball there, because the music was really good, and it was punk rock enough, but it was also sort of, it would have fit in with like alternative music at the time, It really could have been sold on MTV, I think.
Well, oddly enough, MTV, right around the time we signed with Alias, had asked Kathy if she wanted to be on The Real World.
Oh, okay.
And she didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
I said, baby, are you crazy? Do you know how many records we'll sell just because you're on The Real World? Do you not know this?
Yeah.
And maybe she knew that she wanted to be a lawyer at some point. I don't know. But she took a pass.
Yeah.
But, we'd have all been living in San Francisco on Alias's dime and playing. We'd have been in a perfect place to damn play.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone decides what they need to do. So,
yeah.
And that's probably when I leaned closer. I've been lucky in that I've been that close a bunch of times, and that's more than a lot of people ever get. So I'm not complaining, but I really wish I could have gotten a lot closer a few times.
Or maybe gotten there even.
There would have been too much, man. Maybe there's a big plan. Can you imagine, even if I had made it to New York back in the early 80s, like was my plan, one of two things would have happened. I'd have scored big and had access to things that I probably really didn't need to have access to in New York in the 80s. Or I'd be living in a box outside with my drums.
Yeah.
So things work out like they're supposed to. I did make it to New York around 2000, but my job was driving art and antiques around, so I wasn't in the city enough to play.
Okay. So you didn't stay up there too long, I don't guess.
No, I was there for roughly 2 years. I said I'm getting out. I lived in Manhattan for a year and then in Brooklyn for a year. And I said, I'm not going to be here in 2000, just in case.
Yeah.
I wasn't worried about the Mayan calendar or anything per se, or the Y2K, but it just felt like there was a target on New York City when I was there. You know, I lived kind of up and across from the World Trade Center, and I had been there a few times for New Year's.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, this certainly looks like a wonderful place to make a statement. Social, political, take your fucking pick.
Yeah, yeah.
So I said I will be out of New York by year 2000.
Yeah. It always seemed like a cool place to maybe end up, but I don't know. I don't know if I would have ended up there too young, I don't think it would have been good either. So.
Holy crap. I loved it, you know, but I don't know how the hell people afford to live there.
There's that too.
I lived on the 5th floor in Manhattan and locked my keys in my apartment. The first day that I got there, I wound up climbing the fire escape from the back and stepping onto the window ledge to get in, off the fire escape onto the ledge. It was like I Love Lucy.
Yeah.
So maybe that's another sign, little mister. Maybe that's a sign.
Yeah.
But it's all these things, you know, the main thing that from playing, I've done a lot of things that I never would have done from Cherryville.
Yeah.
So it's gotten me out, and it's allowed me to meet a lot of really cool people and do things again. I never made it to Europe.
Yeah.
And I don't really want to go to Europe unless I go with a band and I'm touring Europe. That's one of my last ones. I'd like to do a Coliseum tour as well, but Europe will do.
Yeah. Well, it's like we briefly talked about in messaging, you know, that's something I've never gotten to do is tour. It's still sort of on my bucket list. And with the current band I'm in, it's probably not going to happen. So, you know, I look at that, and that's why a lot of times when I'm talking to people, I always ask kind of like about, you know, have you been on tour, and what was that like? And, you know, just about everybody I've talked to has been on a weekend tour, or, you know, a 1 week, 2 week kind of run through the Southeast or whatever. And one of these days I want to do it. And, you know, you told me, you're like, well, just let me know when you're ready.
Oh, yes.
And that's one thing I'm definitely open to other projects in the future, especially right now. I can't even really think about it because of COVID, and nobody can really plan anything like that anyway. But
correct.
Like I got a buddy that lives in Durham, and the last thing I did right before all the shutdowns happened, I went and visited him, and I said, man, we got to start doing this more often. He's like, yeah, not anytime soon. I said, well, no, but so I want to start making it back up to that area a little bit more often. And maybe on the other side of this, we can see if there's a project or a band we can put together. And
hopefully, man, the touring is so much, you know, again, back in the old days. So the Uglies tour, the first one we had, I think Reed Mullen had given me a list of clubs that COC had played at. And so I called and said, you know, we set our tour up. Bob, I think, did most of that one, but we all called and did our stuff.
Yeah.
But, you know, you get your person, your little punk on the scene in the town, and they'd help you. They'd usually let you stay at their house or help you find a place. But, you know, staying in hotels, I know why so many bands had junkies in them. Because, you know, you're going, well, what am I going to do now? I got, you know, I'm up. These people that we stayed with had to be at work, so now I'm in, you know, Cincinnati. I got to be here all day until 6 for sound check. What do you do in Cincinnati?
Yeah.
So I can see how a person could get in trouble if you had a good budget and days to kill.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's luckily one thing I never, again, you know, just being in a band from around here, never really got exposed to that kind of stuff too much anyway, so.
Well, before the Ugly Americans, like I said, you know, the DC shows in Atlanta, that was about as far as I'd made it. But like I said, I'm pretty sure it was the first tour, but we drove straight to LA. And I fell asleep around the time we crossed into California, but I wake up the next morning in LA, and we're parked on the sidewalk, dude, and as far as I could see in either direction, there was a long line of people. They were at a food kitchen, a soup kitchen.
Yeah.
And that's when it just suddenly hit me, dude, you're not in fucking North Carolina anymore. So then suddenly the whole adventure really began. Driving out in the van, that was one part, but then it was real.
Yeah.
The first day we hit LA. And every morning that you get up in a town, you kind of get a little bit of that, depending on if you're sleeping in the van or somebody's house or whatever. So that's the one thing that, all my friends are, adults trying to make it to retirement age. Hell, I'm going to make it to retirement age, but what the hell good is making it to retirement age? Now I'm 62. Definitely getting to be an old geezer. My body doesn't think I'm as old as the rest of me, as I really am.
Yeah.
But sooner or later, you're going to know. And being that old guy trying to pound out punk rock might be a little tricky.
Well, there's still plenty of people doing it. That's one good thing about this type of music, I think, is that people don't give up that easily. And, I do know a lot of people that have given it up, between my age and a little older, and some people that are younger than me, but there's a lot of people still doing it at 60 years old, and they don't plan on stopping anytime soon.
Yep, as long as I can find somebody to play with, man. It's really kind of weird, but I don't get, like I said, I don't get out much, and I know that you have to get out and go to bars and mingle and let people know you're around and available, I suppose. But that was, again, amongst my least favorite parts, hanging out in bars waiting to play.
Yeah.
I don't get nervous. I get anxious. I get antsy. It's like, come on, you guys, hurry up. It's time for us to go on. And so when I just go, especially if I'm not playing, I still have that feeling.
Yeah.
It's like, are you guys still playing? Isn't it time for my band to come on here? Where's my drums?
I have kind of felt like that before when I've been at somebody else's show. Like, maybe not necessarily thinking, should my band be playing, but thinking, shouldn't somebody be up there playing? Isn't it time for a band to play?
Yeah. And Picasso Trigger, we played 20-minute sets. Mm-hmm. Never more than 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And something major would have had to have broken, guitar, drums, whatever amp, for us to go much beyond that.
Yeah.
But we squeezed in a full set in those 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the club people didn't quite get it. We were in San Francisco, and the guy goes, I asked the sound dude, what time did they want us to start? And he said, 8 o'clock, whatever it was. I said, well, you do know we only play for 20 minutes, and then we'll be done. He goes, well, you're going to play longer than that tonight. I said, dude, I'm just telling you, 20 minutes from when we start, we will be walking off the stage.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, dude. But that's the thing, what's the perfect set? When you leave and people are going, holy shit, I wish they had played a little longer.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we do. We play, 9 songs is all we play every set. Every now and then, if it's like some kind of weird situation where there's a band canceled or something, they're like, oh, can you guys play a little bit longer? We might play a little bit longer, but we really try to keep it to like 20 minutes because most of the time by 20 minutes, by the time a band's played 20 minutes, I'm getting close to being like, all right, they should be done anytime soon, right? But
yeah, no doubt.
20 minutes is like that perfect time to where you stop and it's like, okay, that was not overstaying your welcome, but maybe not quite long enough. So you leave them wanting more a little bit. And that's what
if you do an encore, you're done in 30.
Yeah. Yeah, if you got to do an encore.
In and out.
Yeah. I mean, if you're playing last and you got to do it, well, you don't have to, but, we have done that before where it's been like, okay, I guess we're going to play one more. But yeah, we're off in 30 minutes.
If you're playing last, that's when you pull out, something Casey and the Sunshine Band or just some BS song that everybody just happens to know how to play. Do a couple of those, and then it's like, all right, we're out. To the road stuff. Mm-hmm. It's not horrible. I had said, I see how people can get addicted because you do the same thing day in, day out. But, it's always a lot of fun. And like I said, back on the reggae bands, that was very cool because you'd go to wherever you were playing, Wilmington, Wrightsville, Nags Head, wherever, and you'd hang out for a couple of days. In another town, you had a pocket full of damn money. It was so damn groovy.
Oh, yeah. I can imagine. I mean, it'd be fun to, tour, even if you didn't have that much money, just to see everything. that you could see for free walking around town or whatever, or driving around town. But if you had the extra money, yes.
With Picasso Trigger, I started, trying to get my old self into shape. And so Lisa and I would actually go out. I started doing it by myself, and then she would. I started running between sound check and the show, or, whatever.
Yeah.
And that was kind of cool, especially when she came along. I always wanted to chase her. Said, you go in front of me and you just run, and I'm going to run behind you. Let's see how long it takes to get my skull split. But, it's always fun, man.
Yeah.
Your worst day, short of someone going to jail or dying, is better than your best day at anything else you can do.
You ever have to deal with like a broken down van?
We got lucky, man. The only one time, and I think it might have been Picasso Trigger, a friend of mine took her van and drove us out on a tour, or to at least a show, but we had just barely made it out of Raleigh, and we had a flat. That's as much of a breakdown as it was. But the van was high, so you couldn't quite get the jack to lift it. So we wound up putting rocks that we found, stacking them up, putting the jack on it, jacking the van up. Everybody's holding the van as steady as we can while we're changing the tire.
Yeah.
But we never had much trouble with cops. Even when I should have had trouble with cops, never had any trouble with them on tour.
That's good.
Someone wrote "fuck the police" or "cops suck" or something on the back of our van. It's like, whoa, dude, whoa. Hey, you're going to be hanging out wherever it was. This is the Uglies.
Yeah.
That you're going to be hanging out here where you are. We're going to be driving along the interstate with mohawks and orange hair and fuck police on the back of our van. This ain't cool.
I ain't going to go over too well.
Not very good at all. We were in LA, the Uglies, one time, and I'd lost my pipe in the van, my little Zeppelin.
Yeah.
And Newport Beach, Simon and everyone had gone on down to the beach to hang out. And, I don't really need the beach. So I'm in the van, and these chicks are riding by yelling to us, Chris, Danny, and I, y'all can't park there, y'all can't park there. And, we're like, yeah, fuck you. What are you? Next thing we know, we're surrounded by cops.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and when we opened the door to get out, talk to the cops, I heard, tick!
Oh, shit.
And then the roll, metal on metal, rolling across the van floor. And the fucking pipe rolled out right between me and the cop.
Oh, shit.
And it was that moment. L.A., no less. Back when they were locking Negroes up, I guess they still do, but when it was a sport then.
Yeah.
He gave me the damn 9 yards. You got anything else on you? What else you got? I know there's something.
Yeah.
You better give it to me or we're going to tear the van apart, then take you to jail. So, gave it to him, and I'll be damned if he didn't tell us to have a nice day.
Well, damn.
Yeah, man, that's just crazy.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I've been shitting a brick, maybe.
That's a good time to shit a brick, man. Anytime you're further than, 10 miles from your house and dealing with the cops, it might be something to concern yourself with.
And it's a little different these days. The cops could still give you a hard time for it. You could still get in trouble for it, but not as in much trouble as back then.
Yeah, now with the crazy semi-legal, decriminalized states, most places will just give you a ticket unless you got, I'm smuggling this shit tonnage on you.
But now I got busted with it one time back in the mid-90s too, and the cop was just like, he wrote me a ticket. I gave him everything I had. They still ended up searching my car. They didn't find. He said, if I find anything else, you're going to jail. They didn't find a damn thing else, and wrote me a ticket. And I went to court, paid it, and that was it. Still in my record, I guess, but I was really, really lucky. I wasn't on tour at the time though, so I was close by home. I was in Charlotte. It happened in the parking lot of the Milestone. He pulled me over. He followed me off of 85. He got behind me on Tuckasegee, and he followed me all the way to the Milestone parking lot. When I pulled in there, he turned on those lights and pulled in right behind me.
Wow!
I was playing that night too.
That was my next question.
And so the guy that was running at the time, this is when Bill Flowers was kind of hands-on, but Bill was never there. This was in the mid-90s. So a guy named Ryan McGinnis was running it at the time. And he came out, and basically he told me later, he's like, yeah, I told the cop that I really needed you to play that night. He said he might not let you go if it wasn't for that.
That makes a big difference, man. You know, whether you're just some douche or you can pull some reason. Look at Willie Nelson, man.
Yeah.
I decided Willie was beyond the obvious. I figured he was the coolest dude in the world. If you can get a tour bus stopped with a pound of pot in it and everybody rides away, you're doing something damn right. I don't want to pile you up with too much, but, you know, I basically, that little window after, you know, 80s to the mid-90s when I got Picasso Trigger is what I wanted to cover with you again.
Okay. Do you have any of that music from those reggae bands or even the funk band that you played in?
The reggae bands I don't think anything was ever recorded. Okay. Those were just shows.
Yeah, just live shows.
You know, yeah, exactly. It was just and those were, I guess, technically cover bands. But it was the Amateurs and then a band called Trinidad North. And I played with Mickey Mills and Steel for a while. I mean, I played in a bunch of reggae bands. I guess because I had the dreadlocks, they thought I could play it.
Yeah.
My only knowledge of reggae had come from Earl and the Bad Brains forever.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And, you know, so I knew his militant one-drop style. And a couple of people said, that's not reggae. I don't know what that is. I said, dude, it's reggae. I'm just, you know, just doing my groove here.
Yep. But like, honestly, unless I'm paying like $75 to see you play, I don't want to see you play for more than 30 minutes tops. So 20 minutes is perfect. And even like when I go see a band that I pay, it's very rare that I go see a band like Van Halen and won't see them again anytime soon, obviously. But, you know, it's rare that I do that. But even then, it's like most of the time I'm like, I'm ready to go before they're done playing. Like, okay, you guys have played enough. Let's go.
I've been to 4 or 5 concerts. On the same night, I saw Kiss, I think Judas Priest, and I think it was Aerosmith.
Okay.
Kiss, Judas Priest, that was pretty good. Aerosmith, I've never been such an Aerosmith guy.
Yeah.
But then I saw Rush, and who was the other? Tom Petty.
Okay.
Those are the only shows that I was at. You know, like I said, Aerosmith was the one. Are you guys still fucking playing? Are you done?
Yeah.
Hello? Let's get on with it. It's like an album. How many albums do you have that are started, or, you know, CDs that you started and you like every track on it? So, you know, concerts are kind of the same way, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Keep it short. Do the big stuff. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of big bands, and like, even, I think the last concert I went to that was like a big concert was ZZ Top and Cheap Trick. And of course, both of those bands are badass. So, but even still, like we left before ZZ Top was done. It's like, okay, we've seen everything we need to see. They've got probably 3 more songs. Let's go.
I'm thinking of going out to Seattle and trying to stalk out the Wilson sisters and see if Hart will let me drum with them.
Oh, yeah.
They were one of my favorite bands when I first started playing. So I know all the songs. I can play Michael DeRosier style. That was their drummer.
Saw them a few years ago with Cheap Trick as well, another Cheap Trick show.
Never seen Cheap Trick. That was a band that I would have liked to.
Yeah.
Bunny was my man.
I've seen them quite a few. I've got my 3 favorite bands of all time: Black Sabbath, Ramones, Cheap Trick. That's my holy trinity of rock and roll, I guess you'd say.
See, now everyone's going to hate me, but I don't like the Ramones. I've never been a big Ramones fan.
Well, I know people that are like that. That's not a problem. I mean, but it is rare that you run across people that say they don't like them, but I do know a few people that it's like that's not their thing.
Yeah, never was a rockabilly guy per se.
Yeah,
you know, X was about as close to that as I could make it. So
yeah, I like X a lot too. Got to see them a couple of years ago.
Never saw them. Yeah. Would like to have.
They were pretty good. I think they'd have been better, you know, like 30 years ago, but they were still good.
Well, you know, again, drummers. So that's what guided a lot of my bands that I would like to see. But, you know, like I said, the lyrics were the rest of it, and the band in general, the energy. Mm-hmm. But, you know, like the Dead Kennedys drummer, D.H. Pellegro, he was one of my favorite drummers. He's kind of a dick when you get to know him a little bit. He was, it's like, he was one of the fast drummers.
Yeah.
It's like, I got to be faster than that guy, or at least close.
Yeah. So you said you left Picasso Trigger to play in Leadfoot.
Yes.
And
yes.
Were you playing in both bands at the same time at one point?
I did. And that's, I got food poisoning when we went out on the last tour. And so, crapping and puking every 20 minutes really burns you up. And we didn't miss any shows. So we just came back and, it was to the point that it was getting hard on everybody.
Yeah.
The two bands and me, it's like every time you get in a band, I told my students there when I was teaching, anytime you get in a band, you've got all the band members and all the band members' spouses or partners that you're dealing with. Mm-hmm. So now you add two bands and all the chaos that comes from that. And, it wasn't fair to tell Picasso Trigger, well, we can't tour because I'm going to be out. I've got shows with Leadfoot in this window and vice versa.
Yeah, yeah.
So I went with the more major label.
Yeah. Can't say, I really can't say I blame you on that. Well, you're looking to make a career in music and you just went where you thought it was going to happen.
I think they gave us $65,000 to record our record.
Yeah. That's enough to make anybody go, yeah, I'll go with this band.
Really? And the others, I think Picasso Trigger, we did ours for $8,000, and I know none of the rest anywhere got near any of that.
Oh, yeah.
Got to that price. I was thinking, well, yeah, 65, 8,000, 65, 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll stay with the 65.
Like you already said, that didn't quite work out so well. Of course, not that Picasso Trigger really, because Alias, I remember when that album came out on Alias, I remember seeing ads in Spin magazine. I think you got MTV Airplay, Rub-a-Dub videos on MTV. There were some things happening, but it still never really went beyond that. And
I think a lot of it, I think Todd had said that Alias didn't know how to handle us. Mm-hmm. And, talk about a defiant bunch of little a-holes. That was us, man.
Yeah.
They wanted to make a bumper sticker that said Picasso Trigger sodomized your honor student.
Oh, yeah.
And Alias was going, well, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
So next thing I know, I think Sam pulls out a box. There's one of them pulls out a box of bumper stickers.
Yep.
We played at the Wetlands at some music festival thing. And the hotel, those guys, it was the Gramercy Park Hotel, right there, right off of Broadway, I think it was. But they had this wonderful mirrored elevator. And between getting in the elevator and getting to the floor where our room was, someone had managed to damn paper the walls of the elevator with bumper stickers. I don't know who it was.
I'm guessing that didn't go over too well.
Kathy was the rock star, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
She had the attitude. She had the damn skills. So it was easy being in the band with that, and Sam and Lisa. It was a really good band, good energy.
And I think an underrated band as well, even around here. At least these days, people don't really remember that stuff so much.
It's been a lot of years.
I think even back then, I felt like you guys were underappreciated.
The sidewalk culture killed the bars, and everybody's just sitting out drinking microbrews. Mm-hmm. Chapel Hill is nothing like it used to be. Back to the last thing you said, I think we were appreciated. It was, we got a lot of good gigs, I thought, locally and, even good tours. But I don't know what the hell was the scene. Again, it's that Raleigh curse. Raleigh's always been the next whatever, the next New York, the next Seattle, the next whatever. Mm-hmm. So a couple of bands managed to get the nod, but a lot of times it's just hard to, there's so much music here, or the bar is set in that place that it's just hard to break through, you know, trying to chase, you know, the Canals and all the bands that really smashed out COCs. Yeah. So, I don't know. Wrong place at the right time, I guess, man. I don't know.
Yeah. So, with Leadfoot, you said that was the experience you had with that was enough to drive you away from music for like 10 years.
Yes.
When a man refused to die, overflow. When he bowed to the king of stone, a spirit not subject to census, to gauge out the righteous above. He will fly past the ceiling, what you be dealing now? Hello, now it's going round, head to a low.
I took it hard, man. You know, I was, by the time we finished the recording, it was crazy time. That's when I won the car on The Price is Right. So the stars were lining up for little Johnny, man.
Yeah.
And so, I guess I put all my eggs in the one basket. I don't know, but it was just like getting punched in the solar plexus, man.
Now, with the, you said they paid $65,000 for the recording. I guess when it was all said and done, did you end up with that recording, or do they still own it?
They gave it to some other label who kind of tried to do something with them. I was already gone. I was just at the point of, all right, forget this, I'm done. I didn't take the time to think through it was a little setback, but you made it that far, just keep doing what you're doing. So I just said, fuck it, I'm out, I'm going to take a break from it. It was good music. You know, Carl Agell, do you know Carl?
I don't think so.
He sang with COC. I think it was their Blind album.
Okay, yeah.
The other dudes, we had Phil, bass player for the same album, was in the band. When we first got it together, we had Woody Weatherman in the band. And Atlantic was going to give us a deal sight unseen.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know, but then Sony came along and said, oh no, Mr. Weatherman is still signed with us.
Yeah.
So if he's not recording for us, you guys can do whatever you want, but it will not see the light of day. So Woody stayed with COC.
Yeah.
But it was that quick start said, well, this is pretty damn cool. And then, you know, it was no time till we were being courted by Roadrunner. So that was just almost a fast tracky kind of thing. It was just so much happening so fast that it seemed like it was kind of destined to succeed.
Yeah.
And what that was going to mean, I didn't know. I figured realistically, you know, a development deal would have been good enough, you know, just keep us on the damn dole, let us go out and record and actually practice and polish this turd up a little bit. I've never seen Nickelback, so I can't tell you anything about them. I don't think I've really listened to Nickelback for obvious reasons. So I don't know how the two bands compared, is what I'm getting to.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's just that whole, you know, even worse than getting a bad review from somebody is getting dropped from your deal. That's just like, holy crap, that's a damn kick in the balls, isn't it now? And before it even gets released and you get to do a tour or anything to support it, that was the one.
Man.
But
I would probably be pretty disillusioned myself.
We stayed in LA for about a month, and all my tracks were done in the first week, so I started looking for other shit to do, and that's how I wound up on The Price is Right. I've been trying to get people to go there since I started playing. And everyone said, they'll never let you on. You're crazy, they'll never get you. And I said, you get me there, I'll take care of the rest.
$13.80.
$13.90, Jonathan. 1,600, Rashid.
$15.50.
$15.50. Actual retail price $18.50. Jonathan. Come over here, Jonathan.
I am so happy to see you up here, Jonathan. Jonathan saved himself for that. A new car!
And so you were actually on Price is Right.
Yes, won a car.
Is that on YouTube anywhere?
Yeah, I think it's Jon McClain on The Price is Right or John on The Price is Right. One of my friends, they sent me the board tape because Bill Clinton was president then, and they interrupted the actual episode for some kind of press conference. They were busting up some brown people or something somewhere.
Yeah.
So the original air date had an interruption in the middle of it. So they sent me the board tape, a big, 8-track or something. It's fucking huge cartridge.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But a friend of mine at a studio dumbed it down for us. But that's the other adventure, though, you know? That's the kind of shit you get to do on tour.
Yeah.
Think places that you ordinarily aren't, you know. I'm in North Carolina. How am I going to get to The Price is Right?
Yeah.
Each number is one away from the right number in the prize. Should the first number be 1 or 3?
I'd say 3.
You say 3. Should the second number be 7 or 9?
7.
7. Next number, 4 or 6.
6.
And the next number, 7 or 9.
7.
And the next number, 3 or 5.
5.
And there you have a price of $37,675. Now, if that's right, you win the car. If you have even one number right, you get another chance. So you ask them, ladies, do I have at least one number right?
Ladies, do I have at least one number right?
You do, Jonathan. We go on. Ask them, ladies, do I have 2 numbers right?
Oh, please, ladies, do I have 2 numbers right?
You do, Jonathan. Ask them, ladies, do I have 3 numbers right?
Do I have 3 numbers right?
Yes, Jonathan. Ask them, ladies, do I have 4 numbers right?
Ladies, do I have 4 numbers right?
No, you have 3 right. What is one of the 2 numbers you want to change?
Oh, sounds like the 3 must be 1.
There we go. We'll change. There we are. 1. Now, one more.
9.
Very well. There you are. That's happy?
I think we'll go with it.
Show us the first number in the price of that car. 1. If the next number is a 9, we know you win. Is it a 9? You're a winner. Jonathan, you're a winner. I'll shake your hand. We'll be back when the showcase show.
That's what I've always thought about being on tour is like, I'd love to just be able to travel and see different places, even if I'm not getting to see the most touristy parts of the places. I don't really care about that anyway. But just be able to go and see different people and do something different every night, but do the same thing in a different town, I guess.
It's Bob Seger, man. Turn the page.
Yep.
Maybe not quite so melancholy, but it's still, you make a lot of good friends, man. You have good times, and sometimes you make good friends. I've got friends in every city, every major city from touring.
Yeah.
That's usually what I would do, call my friends, and if we were going to be overnight or even there for the afternoon, do the sound check, find my friends, and disappear, you know?
Yeah.
I'll see you guys at 7 o'clock for our 20-minute set.
Yep.
Or whatever. You just can't beat touring, man. There's a freedom to it and a joy, you know. If you really like playing, I don't know what else there is to do. That's the best way to share. You don't get the connection recording. I know people that just like to record.
Yeah.
In the land of recording, you got a lot of competition. Mm-hmm. Even going out playing, you've got a lot of competition. But, you know, it's that one thing. You know, I've had a couple of people over the years saying, dude, you were blah, blah, blah. You know, your bands or your drumming made me play. And that's very flattering, dude, you know, because I think back to all the people that made me want to play.
Yeah.
So that's very, very, very flattering. I was never a scenester. I was never the guy going in trying to schmooze. I never felt that I was anything special or anything other than just there to play drums. Mm-hmm. I was the same as that dude that was standing at the Milestone watching those first bands.
Yeah.
And that's how I've always seen it. You know, I'm not there to hang out and try to impress. I wish I had, because I probably could have moved on. But, I didn't hang out, and so I can't drop names of people in bands because they were just people in bands.
Yeah.
That's what helped me in the tour industry, because they were saying, that you're not in the band, don't harass them, don't ask them for their autographs. I said, dude, I've done this my entire life. Trust me. I know it's not the last thing, because you appreciate your fans, but you don't always feel like talking to people.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just want to wind down after that. And I imagine if you're on tour like those guys were for months and months and months and playing hours at a time, you just want to go back to your hotel.
Yeah.
When Picasso Trigger played in Tulsa, and Crosby, Stills, and Nash were playing the same night, and we were somehow or other playing in this bar across from their hotel, and Graham Nash came to our show. So got to meet Graham Nash, became friends with their road manager.
Yeah.
Never get to Hawaii to visit him, but that was another one of the things you get. You never know who's going to pop in on you when you're out and about.
Yeah.
And that was just one of those, wow.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Graham Nash, look at you.
Now, did you realize that when he was standing there? Did you know who he was, or just somebody had to tell you?
His manager came up and said, "This gentleman here wants to meet you."
Yeah.
And he took me over, and then he introduced him to me, and I didn't know who he was. I liked Crosby, Stills, and Nash, but I didn't know.
That's the same here. I was gonna say I wouldn't know. I wouldn't recognize him if you showed me a picture of him right now. I'd be like, I guess that's him. I don't know what they look like. I know what David Crosby looks like, but
right. Yes.
I can't tell you what Stephen Stills looks like. I don't know.
I know what Stephen Stills looks like, but by the time he introduced him to me, I recognized him. I was like, well, damn, look at that.
Yeah.
So, but that was pretty cool. I can't think of anybody else like that that's shown up at any shows that I knew about. Debbie Harry was supposed to have come to one of our shows in New York, but I never saw her. Chrome-Plated Apostles. It wasn't our show, but
yeah,
another show going on in the same building. I told Cliff and those guys, if I see Debbie Harry, I'm going up to that party. Show's over. Yeah. Second I see her come in. Didn't see her come in, so I don't know.
So after about 10 years of being out of the music scene altogether, you got that urge again. A couple of things hit you that were like, okay, I need to play.
Yes.
What did you do then? How'd you find your next band?
I think I just came back and started calling friends up and jamming.
Yeah, I figured you know enough people that you could be like, I'm ready to play.
It doesn't seem that easy so much anymore, but yeah, it's been kind of that way most of the time. Mm-hmm. Just put it out there and someone will call.
Especially for drummers, because drummers are harder to come by than a guitar player.
There are the two kinds of drummers. There's that pocket drummer, Ringo Starr and those guys, and then there's the Keith Moons and Jon McClains. Not putting me and Keith Moon in the same sentence, but then there are the fluttery all over the place, and then there are the ones that fall in the middle. And I know my strengths and weaknesses. I told this guy one year, I said, I gave up finesse for power decades ago, man. I have no finesse when I play. But the 2 years that I taught at the School of Rock taught me a little bit of finesse again, so I can actually.
I was gonna say I want to talk about that a little bit too before we stop talking the School of Rock thing. So, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
Very good, but music's just playing has been part of my life since I actually started coming up with a direction. Yeah. I was going to be an architect until that fateful day when I saw, the drum cadence again. And then the next big moment at another high school talent show, these dudes did a Kiss thing.
Okay.
And they had makeup and spandex. Where the hell anyone in Cherryville got the spandex, I can't tell you. But they were all there, big boots. But they had the damn auditorium rocking, man. And it's like, oh, all right, I can play drums, but I want to be in a rock band. Yeah. That's what I want to do. That's the damn hook.
Yeah.
So just having been doing that from, 14, 15, whatever it was, it's just every day. When I first got to Raleigh, there was a period I was in probably 5 or 6 bands at the same time. So every day I was practicing or playing with somebody.
Yeah.
You know, I don't even know how to describe it, but it was just a big hole in there. I wasn't angry. I wasn't going to get angry. It kicked me in the ass.
Yeah.
I know a dude that was in another band that I'll try to spare names because I don't want to out the brother, but this cat one day was hanging out in Paris, sipping wine, hanging out with models, and then they said, dude, you're out of the band.
Oh.
And he was back in fucking Raleigh, you know.
Yeah.
And that dude he had a dive, man. I think he's cleaned himself back up again, but it'll fuck you up, man.
Oh,
it's the best and worst thing. So I'm glad that I'm back playing and enjoying it. So, you know, I would like to play harder, heavier, faster. The Johnny Dodge band, the guy that writes for that band said, well, I'm going to write some songs that'll let you play more. And it's like, dude, you guys just do what you do. Mm-hmm. I can play around it. Again, I got finesse again now. But you just play, and I'll play along.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe those guys would be a good metal band. But you have to be true to what you're playing. If your soul doesn't think in terms of speed metal, you can't play it.
Yeah.
I don't think speed metal, so I can't play speed metal. I can play really fast punk rock, but I cannot play speed metal.
Yeah, speed metal's a little too fast for me.
It's just interesting, you know. I can't hear what they're playing. Mm-hmm. And, you know, like I said, being able to hear is the key to me. But I'll play anything at this point, man, and I'm not going horror or anything. But, you know, I played for the Little Theater once. Yeah. They did Evita. Mm-hmm. And that was pretty good. So, you know, and that was by no means punk rock, and I think I was in a rock band and around then. But it was just being able to make what you're doing work with all the other musicians. Mm-hmm. There's a grooviness about that. Someone sent me some, you know, Facebooky thing that drummers are smarter than most people because you have to pay attention or more observant something, but you have to pay attention to so many things while you're playing. You know, everything that everybody else is doing. You know, I heard Neil Peart say this as well. He goes, you know, when he's playing, he has to pay attention to make sure he's not holding it out so long that, you know, Geddy can get the words in right, not holding it too long, or Alex can play the riff at the right speed. I don't think I'm smarter than anyone else, but I know that, you know, there is a lot that you have to pay attention to while you're playing.
Yeah. And that's one thing I've thought about recently as well, is like, you know, I want to always play music. And even if Van Huskins doesn't, you know, I don't see us ending anytime soon, but 10 years from now, I might be playing in a country band just to be playing music. I mean, not looking to play in a country band. And if I do, it's going to have to be like classic country, not this stuff they play on the radio these days. But
correct.
If that was what it took for me to keep playing, that's what I'm going to do. I mean, I'll find somebody to play with.
Yeah. I think playing country would be kind of fun, honestly. You know, I don't own brushes or anything like that, so, you know, I might have to get some of those. But the one band, Shakin' Sherman, that I play with, he plays some of those old country songs, you know, stuff you'd hear on the Ronco albums, you know, trucking tunes in the 70s, real country.
I buy a lot of those records.
So that's what he does. But I enjoy playing it a lot more than I thought I would.
Yeah.
From the School of Rock, I learned we never practice. You know, the other band, Johnny Dodge, I call them my hippie band. We practice every now and then, but Sherman never practices. Okay. He's maybe once since I've been in the band that we've gotten together. So, you know, I basically listen to the songs and I go for that first jam thing.
Yeah. If
I'm going to play my drums, I'm going to make sure that I stop on it. My last rehearsal is an even number.
Yeah.
But from the School of Rock, I learned, you know, there are 8 basic kind of drum beats. Mm-hmm. And the mathematics of it all, I'll spare you all the details of all this shit. But the theory. But so there's literally a couple of things that make everything else. So anyhow, I played the 8 basic beats in the first few songs, then I started mixing them up, half a measure of this, half a measure of that, and mix them together.
Yeah.
And so I played the whole night, 2 sets, without having ever practiced, just by giving them that take 4 and I'll come in. And all that I knew of a lot of the songs that I knew, all that I knew of them was the little clip that you'd hear on those compilation albums. Yeah. I know the chorus. That's all that I know. I know one line in the chorus.
So since we're talking about the School of Rock a little bit, so you said you taught that for a couple of years. What's that like? I mean, because it sounds like you talk to the kids also about like what it's like being in a band. It's not just about let's learn this song and play this song live. There's like a whole school. Is that? And kind of give me a little bit of an idea of how that works.
Well, the School of Rock's basic thing is they teach you just enough to kind of play, but the theory is to teach you to jam along with music. So you may not actually know per se what you're doing, but you can do it. Mm-hmm. And the way it wasn't bamboozled, but the owner of the school told me I had to teach a trial lesson and he'd find someone to bring me in with. Yeah. So I had this lady and a kid, mom and their son. Mm-hmm. And I was trying to give him a lesson. And after it was over, he said, well, that was my wife and my son. And she said, you did a good job. It's like, dude, you can't see me in there with your wife and your kid. That's just not right. But I told, I did. I would mix stories in addition to what they were playing. I'd take a second and tell them, you think I'm hard on you. You wait till that guy at the bar tells you got to play for an hour and you're telling him you're only going to play 20 minutes. I said, or, you read the first bad review. You have to get over all that. You have to know what you're doing. And it's easier for me to explain. In drumland, there are 4 basic notes that you worry about: quarter note, 8th notes, and 16th notes. Okay. Triplets. But anyway. Yeah. If you can figure out how to play those and mix and match them, combinations and permutations, that's everything. Yeah. You can't really do much more. So how many ways can you chop up one count is what it amounts to. Mm-hmm. That's what I tried to explain to everyone when we were playing. We'd play songs. And the school also, in addition to the private lessons, the school had little ensembles for the kids, based on their age and skill level. Yeah. So I was in there with them one day, and the guitar player, the instructor, he was telling the band, you do this 3 times, and then we're going to do the chorus and blah, blah, blah. And the drummer was having trouble. I said, dude, he's talking about the phrases. We talk in measures. And I said, so you got this many measures per phrase that this guy's talking about. And suddenly everything was fine. Yeah. You have to have a language that everybody understands. And if you don't want to understand the language, you can still learn, but it's going to suck and take a lot longer.
I was just looking at time, so it's like 10:45. I don't want to keep you too late, but
no worries. I'm good, man. You tell me, I know I'm not the exciting guy because, I don't know a lot of names and bands and people. But,
I honestly, I don't care. I don't care so much about the names. I like the story better. So everything's working out. Like I said, I don't want to keep you too late. I also don't want to end up with a whole, way too much to edit either. How did you get back into music? And let's hit some of the high points. I definitely want to talk about Chrome Plate Apostles just a little bit because I hope to get Cliff on this at some point. I like to get Ron on here as well from Pipe and Cold Cream and whatever else. But yeah, let's just kind of get back to that a little bit.
Well, Chrome-Plated Apostles, I guess, was probably my most recent venture back in. Cliff and I played with the Bad Checks back in the day as well.
Yeah, I love Bad Checks.
got his head put on a penny. A bullet lead shot him dead. Let's all drink Lincoln's head. Freestyle!
Cliff and I had been talking, and finally we got together and started as a two-man. Added Stefan and on bass. He was in a band called B-Side, and I had gone to sit in with him. He's Todd Goss's sister's husband.
Yeah, I remember when me or Todd were talking, we mentioned Chrome, or I mentioned them or something. He's like, yeah, I don't really want to talk about them. Something like that. Because apparently he's not on good terms with that guy or whatever.
I love Todd, man. He's a funny dude. He really is the reason Picasso Trigger got out of North Carolina. Yeah. I don't know what magic he pulled.
Well, honestly, I don't feel like Jettison Records in general gets as much credit as it should get, because there was a lot of good stuff that was on Jettison. And it's already been forgotten about, but I think Todd did a lot of things that he doesn't get a lot of credit for. I
give him all of it, man. Yeah. He knows everybody, and he gets along with everybody, and maybe it's that he's just so matter of fact when you talk to him. There ain't no damn fluff with that one, man. You know, he lays it out.
Yeah.
But Todd, you know, like we were saying, Geezer Lake, all those bands, he got us all out there.
Yeah.
So if anyone ever wants to leave him out, they're completely missing this scene.
Yeah.
You know, maybe he was, you know, repping Durham and Chapel Hill. I don't know. Raleigh, I still say to people, Durham and Chapel Hill, I need to get my passport. They're like foreign fucking countries to go over there. So Raleigh actually had its own little foundation, it seems. You know, there was Jag Studios and all that. So maybe Todd filled in that void for for Durham and Chapel Hill. I don't know where Mitch Easter's studio is, in Greensboro or something like that.
I think so.
But, you know, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of it around. But Raleigh seemed to have people doing pretty much everything, and maybe Durham and Chapel Hill kind of like. Ugly Americans were from Durham, but somehow we always got credit for being from Raleigh. I don't understand.
I guess because that's where at that time the hardcore scene was more focused in Raleigh, it seems. I wasn't around for then. That's just from what I've gathered.
Yeah, I'd say that's a fair assessment. That's how I perceived it at any rate. Cat's Cradle was always the place to go to, you know, to see a band. For sure, they had a better caliber of bands that went to the Cat's Cradle to play. Durham, poor things. I don't know what the hell they had going on in Durham.
Well, like I said, my friend Matt still lives in Durham, and he tells me the same thing, because I talk about, well, I need to bring Van Huskins up there and play. He's like, I don't know where you're going to play in Durham. You can play Raleigh or Chapel Hill. He's like, no, I know one. He does know of a couple of places we could play in Durham, but he still suggests we try Raleigh and Chapel Hill first.
Picasso Trigger played at the Duke Coffee House, and I never knew it existed.
Yeah.
It was a million faces that you'd never seen. It was like everybody, it was packed, but it was full of Duke students. It's like they never leave the campus. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was a totally new audience. We played at NC State once as well. So, you know, we showed up in some strange places.
Yeah. I think anybody that's played in bands for a while, though, does end up playing in some strange places.
Yeah, absolutely. The Ugly Americans played in this little sugar shack. It was like a shotgun shack, actually. Probably about the width of a standard room, 10, 15 feet wide, maybe 20 or so feet long. But it was jammed full of people, man. And right about the time, and when we started playing, right about the time, that's a Southern thing. Mm-hmm. Right about the time we started playing, suddenly there was just shit flying in the air and bodies jumping around.
Yeah.
And again, that's one of those moments. It's like, oh yeah, this is something special. It may not have been. I don't know.
Well, it is. But that's one thing about punk rock is if you're into it and you've ever been a part of something like that, especially when you're young, it grabs a hold of you, and it's something you can't shake. It's just something so good and visceral about it that even at this age, I'm I'm a little bit more subdued in my punk rock these days, but I still like, that's my life.
I suffer from Peter Pan the Peter Pan-ism. I can't think of what I'm trying to say right now. I apologize. But I just, like I said, my brain still wishes that groove was still going on.
Yeah.
I'm not an adult, man. I'm a damn 16-year-old living in a 58-year-old's body. I can drive, so I have to be a 16-year-old.
Yeah, I understand that.
Cliff is a sleeper, man. I only knew of him as a bass player from the Bad Checks, but, apparently he was a guitar player before he became a bass player.
Yeah.
And he had written all those chrome-plated songs. I don't know if Hunter helped him with any of the lyrics. I don't know all that, but I believe he wrote the songs.
Sitting at the table, everybody's got a gun. I'm in control, I don't have one. Chips are flying, the cards on the floor. I made a little money, now I'm out the door.
Bad Checks, Pipe, Chrome Plated Apostles. That dude is very prolific in bands. Now, those guys were some party monsters. That was a band worth mentioning. It was a short-lived run with them. They, Robin left the band. I think he decided he was going to get married and settle down. Walked in one day, I'm out. I'm not playing anymore.
Yeah.
We had just started going out. We played DC a few times, and I think maybe Baltimore, but we were creeping towards the city.
Yeah. That
would have been another band I just couldn't imagine. They're bands that you hear all the time. I guess it's like athletes, For every signed Major League Baseball or NFL athlete, there's 100 dudes, maybe not as fast as some of those modes are.
Oh,
but
yeah.
There are a bunch of dudes that are just as good that don't ever get a look. So I'm glad to have gotten a couple of looks. another tale of walking around after a show in Florida, but you know.
Well, you can add that too, and if I find a place to put it, I've got a lot to work with, so I know I'll have some extra stuff. And like the episode I just put out yesterday, I also had like over 45 minutes of extra stuff that we just didn't use because it was just we were talking about stuff that was fun things to talk about, but didn't really work with the story. So I still end up putting that stuff out on like Patreon, so people can still listen to it. And sometimes I'll throw it up on YouTube, which I'm going to do with part of the one I posted yesterday. But so I can use it.
Well, all right. So Picasso Trigger had played in Daytona Beach, Florida.
Yeah.
Not big time, good show. And, you know, I had my fancy little Euro underwear on, and I was just using those for shorts.
Yeah.
And somewhere, apparently during the set, my mule had gotten out of the barn. And no one said anything to me about it. I come off the stage and I'm standing outside drinking my water. And I'm noticing the people that are walking by are, you know, putting their hands up and turning away, and people are making all kinds of sounds and grunting when I'm going by. So I decided to go get a drink. So I'm walking, now the same thing.
Oh.
I get to the store, and the guy at the store is making this bullshit gesture. Hey. But he backs up and lets me into the store. So I'm thinking, well, what the fuck is going on here? You know?
Oh, shit.
So I get everything together. I get to the counter, and I lean up against it to pay him for it. And that's when I realized that my damn junk is out. And I've been wagging the dog at everybody from that club to the store. I'm thinking to myself, now, how would you have ever in a million years convinced a cop that you weren't walking around with your dick out on purpose?
Or that you had no idea. You know, I didn't know.
They're European. How would I have known? Note to self, gym shorts, something solid, sweatpants. Nobody said anything to me about it. I'm 6'5", probably been around, you know, low 200s from tour starvation diet, drumming everyday diet. But, you know, come on, people. Tell me XYZ, mule in the barn, anything. Check yourself before you go outside. Mama always told you that.
This has been a Gabba Gabba Hunt Media Production.